Okay, I wanted to address an interesting question which deals with dating specifically for men, say 23 and up. So if you are a teenager or you're kind of a college guy that's sort of just out playing the field, whatever that means, um, I don't expect this to be necessarily appropriate for you. Probably men won't even watch this video, but at least the women can know what men are thinking. One of the things that I encounter a lot with women is the idea that women are too picky, meaning that a woman sort of knows what she wants, but she's afraid necessarily to ask for it, or she thinks she asks for it too much and she doesn't get what she wants, etc. So she says, maybe I should lower my standards. Maybe my standards are too high. I never get that for men. It's very interesting. I never get that for men. So the question is, what's going on? What men just have no standards? No, of course they don't have. Excuse me. Of course they have standards, but why don't they think they're being too picky? So I think the idea is like this: men put in completely different categories dating slash fun and marriage, and they attempt to pursue both without really considering that in their mind they are two separate things. Let's go into that. What crosses a man's mind when he considers dating or the equivalent of it, which I'm not going to go into today? So you would say a lot of factors. Convenience is a factor. She's here. How do I get her? Attraction is a factor. Am I attracted to her? Availability, which I think goes with convenience. You know, am I single? Is she single? Are we at the same party? How hard is it going to be for me to get? Um, I think convenience and attraction, and you could say chemistry, are the three major factors that a man will consider when he looks at whether or not a woman is going to be, quote, dateable, or someone worthwhile, pursuing to sort of hook up with whatever you want. Now, when it comes to marriage, what is a man looking for? So it could be, I would assume he's looking for some completely different things. What do I mean? Well, convenience isn't really a factor. Since marriage takes longer and it's a longer investment, men might be willing to try harder in order to marry a quality individual. Attraction is a factor, but I think that most men would be comfortable saying that over the course of their lives, attraction, while extremely important for men, is not the single largest factor. So what are the largest factors when it comes to men marrying, finding women to marry? So I think a lot of it stems down to, well, what's her personality? What are her goals? Is she driven in the same areas that I am? Be it if a man is looking, I remember for myself, my model that I saw growing up was that my mom stayed home to raise us. So it was very important for me, not necessarily or not at all to have a career woman. I wanted a woman that wanted to stay home with the kids. Really address the financial factor over there, but that's okay, right? On the other hand, you could have men that feel that it's completely irresponsible for a woman who wants to stay home and be with their kids, and instead want a woman who is extremely driven in a certain career direction. Um, so I think personality and goals, and also the interface with the family. A lot of times men want a woman, I would assume, that would fit in well with their family, that they could bring home to mom and dad, that their mother would not kind of be set on a crash course collision with, which is okay, because that's what the Torah says. It says that the goal of marriage is that a man should leave his parents and cling to his wife. Now, the Torah didn't tell us that, meaning the normal way that people are, a man wants to kind of keeping his mom's son and just kind of bring the woman into the picture. That doesn't happen. But when a man's in the beginning, mom's kind of the his go-to. Specifically, I guess you could say I'm speaking about Jewish men, hopefully, right? And kind of bring this new lady in. He wants to think, well, what's my mom gonna think? Is my mom gonna be horrified with her? Religion could be a major factor when it comes to marriage. So these are all things. While attraction is important, what I want to illustrate is that convenience isn't as much of a priority, and there are a whole host of other things that are a priority. In addition, going along with that convenience theme, um, a lot of times the way a man will assess a relationship or the success of a relationship, or if it's worth putting in his time, is he will think to himself, how fast could I move this relationship towards a physical relationship? Yeah. If she would say off the bat, look, pal, we're not getting together for at least, whatever it is, 6 months, right? I would assume most guys in the modern context would say, okay, no, thank you. Right. Or yeah, they would probably say, yeah, absolutely. And they try to get her, within the first 6 minutes. But the point is that if it was known that physicality was off the table for 6 months to a year, or she would say, until we get married, most men wouldn't start up with the majority of people they start up with. Now, the interesting thing is, if a person is suited for marriage and thinking about marriage, so then there is not as much pressure to immediately initiate a physical relationship, simply because, look, we're going to spend 80 years of our life together, and physical intimacy is the main part of marriage, right? But if you're just meeting people for the sake of dating or hooking up with, so then we have to really move to the physical intimate area as quickly as possible in the man's mind. So to play back what we've said over here, men in their minds separate dating and marriage, yet they pursue both as if they see both as one thing, thinking that the girls that they date will ultimately turn into the women that they marry. And the problem is, traditionally, right, either way it's bad, right? Because dating and kind of hooking up is short-term thinking, and so therefore you don't analyze what are the long-term prospects with this individual. But if it does turn into long-term prospects, then you're in trouble, because you started with a very short-term goal, and now you're trying to take it to something long-term. So that's why it's hard for it to work. And if it doesn't work, right? If a guy say, I can date anybody I want, but I'm just not getting married. I'm 31, I'm 30, I'm 35. I want to, and I can date anyone I want, but I'm not getting any closer to my goal. The reason is they have essentially lost the ability to attract marriageable type partners, either because they don't know what to look for, or they're dating the wrong policy, or they're conducting the relationship in an inappropriate way. What does that mean, an inappropriate way? And then we'll end, because I'm only doing 10 minutes today. Again, marriage is hopefully a long-term proposition, which means that what I want to do is to assess if this person I'm going to be with will be able to keep me happy, make me happy for a long period of time. Okay? Now, the element of physicality creates an artificial bond between two people, and oftentimes, if everyone's normal, is the premier thing hanging over the relationship from the very beginning. Which means a man is thinking, how do I get physical with a girl? The girl is thinking, he must be thinking about physicality, whatever. This is not for the women right now. But a guy's trying to think, how do I get to the girl? Now, the problem is that is not, if you're trying to charm her or trying to win her over, that's not what's necessarily going to figure out for you if she's right for you long term. What would you need if you want to see if she's right long term? Again, how do we have a relationship? How is our physical chemistry? Not physical, excuse me, our emotional chemistry, our intellectual chemistry. Are we going in the same directions? These are all talking things that have absolutely nothing to do with physical intimacy. So the long-term stuff, which you should be assessing up front if you want to go down the marriage path, gets completely blocked out by the natural human male need to move to physical intimacy as quickly as we can. Okay? So that's the idea. I'm suggesting 3 more things, again, just to give a summary of what I said, and we'll go into more detail later. Step number 1, men have to realize that they view marriage and dating as two separate topics. What's the proof? Because the approach that we would take to marriage, ideally, is not the same approach we would take to hooking up or being friends or dating, right? So we see it as 2 separate things. We approach it as one thing, And the thing that we use, so to speak, to look for someone to marry, but in reality we're just looking to date, doesn't get us closer to our goal. So I think first and foremost, a person has to figure out, do I want to get married? Do I want to date? And they are absolutely, as we suggested, they are two opposite goals. You cannot simultaneously do both intelligently. You could get lucky either which way, but if you're betting anyway, you're most likely not going to succeed. That's why it's called a bet. It's not an intellectual thing. So you're supposed to think to yourself, do I want to look now for a marriage partner, at which point I'm going to assess goals, vision, value, everything else. I'm going to put physicality and all that kind of and convenience on the back burner. Or am I looking for dating and hooking up, at which point what comes to the forefront is really only convenience, how fast and how available and attractive am I interested in doing this? And maybe how much have I had to drink? Or how much does she have to? No, we're not going to jokes like that. That sounded funny. But anyway, so that's the suggestion. We'll delve into it more later. Thank you.